Another day, another dollar. Part 7. His rebus. With these things done, Alexander's the nominative. The accusative is the conspicuous man. These things, facts or deeds, made the man conspicuous. And Alexander, who was a eudex here in our apposition, he was a judge of great merit, double genitive, magnorum meritorum, and into his own pernition or destruction, he prefected this outstanding big man to the dative in charge of all the army. These were the recruits on the Rhine, and with cunctus gaudentibus, with cunctus means everyone was rejoicing at this. Everywhere, ubique, the adverb, the tribunes, the ducibusses, the generals, and the militibusses, the soldiers. 2. Deniqui. Finally, the whole of his army, Alexander's army, who under Elagabulus had torpided, languid or been lazy. Anyway, a magna part of it, a great part of them had become lazy. So he retracted, drew them back to his own military discipline. 3. Which to Alexander, ut diximus, as we have said before, who was indeed an optimo emperor, he was an outstanding or good emperor, but nevertheless, of whose age, from his beginning, was able to be condemned, to be spurned or complained about. This was a very gravissime move, very serious thing for Alexander it was. 4. When in Gallia, in Gaul, with a capital G, and not far from a certain city, a Quadrim city, he had placed his castra, his camp, when suddenly in missus militibusses, the soldiers having rushed in means towards him, so they've attacked him. As certain people certain people say by what's his name? Maximino, himself, as others say by barbarian tribunes. So then Alexander, fagging out for a smoke, this should be a you, fuging to his mother, he was interruptus, which means he was killed, like interficio and neco, all those other words. It just means, anyway, with Maximus already calling himself, there's the yam of already, calling himself emperor. So whether it was by Maximinus or by these barbarian tributes, Maximus claimed himself emperor, while Alexander was still fuging and got killed. 5. Et causam indeed or even, the cause of the intermendi of Alexander, of the murder of him. Some people say one thing, aliam, some people say another thing. For quidam, there are certain people that dicunt say memiam was the author of this murder, as Filius, deserto bello, which would mean having deserted the war in Germany. There we go, those three go together. Looks like son was seeking to go to the east, leaving behind the war in Germany. And ideo, for this reason, the Millites, the soldiers, burst out pro rapris deed into sedition, into rebellion. So the translation says she was seeking her son to do it, but that would be filium if that was the case. Anyway, from this reading with Filius, it looks like he was the one seeking it, not the Memia seeking it. Who's to say what's going on, why other people translate it? Who did this? David Maggie translated it, as the mother was the one seeking her son to do it. Anyway, indeed, there is a rumour that he was nimis, excessively severe, had been, and he had wanted, thus as in Gaul, to exorctare. This means to release people from their vows of service, the legions in Gaul, as he had released them from their oath in the Orient. Okay. Part 8. But Accusio Alexander, but with Alexander dead, Maximus was the first, the primum, from the body of the soldiers, military body, and he was not yet a senator. So it looks like he's the first person to be a senator without a decree of the Senate. That's fourth declension. And he was appellatus est, he was called Augustus by the exercitu, by the army. And with himself, Sibi met Dato Filio, his son was given in to participate. They have two senators, I guess, together who are ruling Rome. Anyway, it looks like he was the first in history without a degree from the Senate. De quo, concerning which, porca, a few words which are known to us, nobis cogita, soon we will dicamus. We will say a few things on him with his son. Anyway, 2, Maximus Autem, so however or moreover Maximus, he was always astute, some form of cleverness, so that the Millites, the soldiers, he did not regorate them, he didn't rule them with virtute, which is usually valour or virtue. It's meant to be brute force here, I might Google it. But even with premis, these are rewards, and lucre, which is riches, he made it so that they loved him. Amantissimus, he was very beloved to them or something. Okay, so here's the Lewis Short Virtus, as we usually know it's virtue or valour. The very first thing it's got here is strength, so I guess he didn't rule them with strength. Here's all other things you usually say: bravery, courage, capacity, worth, excellence, virtue, etc. So he wasn't ruling them with pure strength, as this translation. Anyway, 3, numquam never, illi he, tulit, took away, quis pm, to anyone, their anona. It's their rations. Originally comes from the yearly grain supply, so didn't take it away from anyone as punishment, and he never civeted, he never allowed that anyone, any soldier, in his exercitu, in his army, was a faba, that's the construction work, or anything else of this type, alteris reas, as sunt modern times, as many do now, so sunt, they're doing it now, as artifacts, they're like someone who does work as well. He was exercising the legions frequently, solus only with hunting, venationibusses. Okay, so scroll a bit, where we're going today down there. 5, said inter has virtues, but amongst these virtues or qualities, there was, tam usually means so much, so there was some cruelty. As ally, some people, him, referred to him as Cyclopem, a mythical king of Egypt who sacrificed strangers to Zeus. Others called him Busiram, who was a robber who lived off the coast near the border of Attica and Megaris and is said to have been killed by Theseus. Others called him Scyronam, a tyrant of Agrigentum in Sicily about 560 BC. He used to roast condemned people in a bronze bull until he himself suffered the same fate. Non nulli means a few people or some, not none. Called him Phalaram. Blah blah blah. 100-headed Titan. Many called him Typhona. What's this one? A giant with 100 arms. Actually, no, I must have skipped something. The Giganta is a giant. So anyway, you can look them all up for yourself. Okay, so those descriptions went from this guy here. The Cyclops had one eye, and then Basilisk. Anyway, 6, the Senate, him, feared him tantum so much with the ut that vota, these are prayers or wishes, public and private, were in the temples. And even mulieres with their libris, with their children, they made these prayers even. That nay, not illi he, umquem ever, should videret, see, urbum robum. 7, for they were hearing, some people, alios was sublatus, means lifted up from underneath, into a crucem and a cross, like Jesus. Others, of recently killed animals, they were inclusus in them, they were shut up in recently killed animals. Others were objectos, they were cast to ferris, wild animals. That's a typo again. Others were elizost with fustibuses, which are clubs. So they were beaten with clubs, and all of these things, omnia haec, were without any delectu, you might call it a wish or something, of dignitatis, of further honours or whatever. This cum probably means since, it seemed. He wanted to regere, to rule military discipline. So he wanted to control things through military discipline and not because of any love. No dialectus was behind it. Cuvius, of which exemplo with an example, he etiam even he wanted to correct the civilian discipline. So didn't want to control the army, wanted to control civilians. 8. That what is not convenient, what's not suitable for a principle, for a leader who valets to be delegated. So this isn't fitting for an emperor who wants to be loved, to be delighted in. 4. To him, he was persuasum, that nisi, unless or except without crudelity, without cruelty, he could not hold imperium, the power or the control. 9. Simul, at the same time, similar also, he was verbatorne, verb of fearing. He feared that propter, because of, on account of his humilitatem generis, his lowliness of his birth, actually that's double genitive, of his barbarian birth, by the nobilitate, he would be contemned, be spurned or looked down upon by the nobility. 10. Praeterea. Besides, he was memoritet, he was remembering that, say, himself, locative at Rome, even by services, even by slaves, the servi, slaves of the noble, he was contemned as well. He was, so he must have been at Rome, and the slaves didn't really like him. The slaves of the nobles spurned him. So ita ut, correlative, so that not even, ne quidam, not even by the procuratibusses of them he was seen. So this is like the higher rated people in charge, slaves of the nobles, and the procurators in charge of the place, they wouldn't even see him. Nearly done. And ut se habent stolte opinions, and as stupid opinions consider themselves or think, such these contrasay towards him, spiribet, he was hoping or expecting that they would be in future, when now he was the emperor. So he's thinking, now I'm the emperor, they're going to be the same way towards me. Tantum, such valet prevails the consciousness of the degenerate anima, of the degenerate mind. Stupid opinion, so he's really getting a bit of a chew out here, and that's it for the day.